Hey, everybody out there, welcome back to 91.8 The Fan. It is I, your favorite holiday themed host, the DJ Christmas, and I have with me a super special guest. Would you like to introduce yourself to all the fans out there?
Yeah. Hey, my name is Mike Gale. I'm the game developer for a JRPG called Soul Saga, which has a Kickstarter up right now.
Very cool, and we've talked to a couple people before with Kickstarter projects. I think the last thing we did was Golden Sky Stories, which is sort of a tabletop RPG from the people who brought Made RPG over to the English-speaking world, and it's definitely different.
Uh, cool. What's it about?
It's like a D&D campaign, but everybody is an anime maid.
Nice. I was at a PAX a couple years ago, and I remember seeing some anime or an anime like fighting card game, but then all the characters were anime maids. I thought that was kind of interesting. And one of my Japanese friends actually works at in Japan. She works at this otaku uh, restaurant where she has to dress up like a maid and
Oh
call people
yeah,
master.
the maid cafes. Those are I don't know why they're such a big hit, but uh, if it works, I guess do it.
Yeah, works in Japan at least.
Definitely. But you are here to talk about not just any game, but this is actually I took a look at the Kickstarter page and it looks like it's shaping up to be a pretty fun video game here.
Yeah, I like to think so. It's been a lot of work. I've been working on it for quite a while. Um, Paying for it out of paycheck from paycheck to paycheck. I I guess I could just. Do you want me to like kind of tell my
Yeah,
a little bit of my life story?
how exactly did this whole thing come about?
Uh, well, I was still living with my parents about maybe 6 years ago or so, and I was basically helping them out on the farm. We live on a miniature horse farm with about 100 miniature horses on it, and it's it was cool helping out my family, and it was a good experience being with all the horses. But it just wasn't my passion, and I had been studying computer science, and I kind of wanted to finally just break into the industry. So I moved out to Seattle, and I got a job at Microsoft for a little bit, and then I just kind of realized that that wasn't exactly what I wanted from the game industry. That wasn't really why I had a passion for it. So then I quit and went back to school and finished up a business degree. And during that time, I kind of taught myself about game development and slowly ordered art assets, and eventually kind of came up to where I am today and the presentation I have.
Well, and the presentation you have on just the Kickstarter page alone, it's pretty well fleshed out. You go into everything that you've got so far and all the stuff that you plan to have done and what exactly you're getting for every tier, which is always good. You know, you see too many Kickstarter and Indiegogo campaigns these days where it's like, this is my idea, help me fund it, and that's it.
I haven't seen a whole lot of campaigns where I thought they were really bad, but I definitely saw a few. I've pledged to at least 10 on Kickstarter, but I've seen others I wanted to pledge to, but I'm just like, no, I must save money for Soul Saga. So, but yeah, it's been the whole Kickstarter thing is actually really cool. Like I like being able to the chance to have other people be a part of Soul Saga, and the cool thing is that they're not just customers; they're actually like a part of the development process at this point. Like they're actually funding the dream of this game and making it possible to happen.
Definitely. And you've actually got a decent amount of people giving you a hand on this. Like, I know I've seen a lot of support from Kerbifer, who's one of your casting directors. How exactly did you get into contact with him and the others?
I saw him through another game, and I saw that he did some voicing for that, and so then I got a hold of him, and then he was really prompt with getting back with me, and we started talking, and he was like, "Hey, like just give me kind of like a script, and I'll pull some people together for you, and you can see if you like what you get." And I uh, did like what I got. Like I was actually kind of blown away by all the talent that he showed me. It was really hard to choose who to actually pick for the roles. But yeah, it kind of went off from there.
Very cool. And I know it's actually, if you scroll almost to the very bottom of the Kickstarter page, you've already
Mm,
got pretty much the main characters fleshed out. It'll be Todd Haberkorn and Kira Buckland, who are
mm,
two pretty well-known voice actors, I'd like to say.
yeah. Well, yeah, Todd Haberkorn does Natsu from Fairy Tail, which is like one of my favorite animes, and Ling Yao from Full Metal Alchemist, which is probably my favorite anime. I actually pull a lot of story inspiration out of Full Metal Alchemist. And Kira has done some roles that I've not seen before, but she has like this a very large range, and she's just super professional and really awesome. I see her becoming pretty big.
Yeah, she's definitely been able to get her way into becoming a more up and coming actor in the industry. She's all over
Hmm.
Viz's circuit doing main roles and stuff like Lagrange and Excel World and all kinds of stuff. So hopefully, you get the push from those two as well as all the other people that you get for the project because first a game like an RPG, I feel like voices are definitely one of the biggest things for me anyway. And if there's a voice that I recognize, sometimes I'll play a game just because of that voice.
Yeah. Well, I have been hearing a little bit of feedback from some fans because they kind of feel like RPGs didn't used to have voices, so you don't need to have them now. And I am adding the voice to or the option to turn off the voices. But I personally feel that with the right casting and the right actors behind the job, like they can add so much personality to the characters. And Todd and Kira have done that for Mythos and Elise, and they've done it so well. Just it's an amazing feeling to see the characters come to life like that after so long of working on them. But like a game like Kingdom Hearts, that game wouldn't have been half as good without the voice acting in it.
No,
And that,
absolutely not. And then, you watch how some of, like, you say right on the Kickstarter that it's inspired by, PlayStation era stuff like Persona, and, you watch the older Personas where it's just like, battle voices and
mm,
not like cutscenes or cutaway type stuff.
mm.
And those are kind of okay, but I feel like Persona 4 Golden is more engaging than Persona 1.
Oh yeah, Persona 4 with their voice acting is just, it's like watching an anime. It's really cool.
And
So
I can understand there are people that they prefer, the Japanese voices or I don't think I've ever actually seen an option where you can turn the voices off completely. That's definitely something interesting, and it'll be definitely interesting to see how many people actually go for that kind of thing.
yeah, you know, with the casting that we've got so far, like I don't know what, who would even want to not listen to the voices because they did an absolute awesome job. Uh, the presentation wouldn't have been half as good without these guys on the team.
Yeah, definitely. And when you pull in people like Curb and um, I forget his name, the other casting director you got. He did the direction for Dust, and Dust is
Mm.
another example of,
Devin Mack.
yeah, and it's another great example of how just having a good voice cast can
Mm.
increase the likability of a game.
Devin Mack actually did. Him and Chris actually worked together with me on this, where Chris did the casting and Devin did the directing.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, both were very excellent.
And it like I said, I can only say it so much, but it definitely does help to have that extra boost. It's not just silent protagonist, silent game. Not that there's anything wrong with those, but for something like this, I feel like it needs to have that extra boost. I don't know. I'm sure there are
Yeah,
people that disagree, but they'll have that option.
Yeah. Well, I think it definitely adds to it, and we're a little bit spoiled by that nowadays. I really think that we didn't see much of it in the old days, not because it was a style, but because technology didn't allow for it. Yeah, you couldn't put a lot of voices on like um, on a SNES cartridge, right?
Yeah.
And I don't. There was a few games like uh, Lunar Silver Star Story,
Hmm.
which was absolutely stood out from all the rest, and I think the voice acting helped with that. And the Tales of series usually had voice acting in them, and
Yeah.
it was just all really well done and really added to the characters.
But more about the game itself. Could you tell us uh, what the plans for the plot are? It looks like you've got it fairly well fleshed out already.
Well, actually, I'm starting to realize now that because the way I like to do things is I like to make sure it's really well polished and I have artwork to kind of uh, to put up behind the story elements. And some people are getting the impression that this follows Mythos and his very linear journey towards the dragons, and then he's going to beat them. And I have to say, is going. I don't want to give anything away, but it is nothing like what anyone thinks it's going to be. It's a very complex story with a lot of politics and a lot of like underworld seedy stuff happening, and Mythos's journey uh, to defeat the dragon is a very small part of this, and he will definitely be sidetracked with a lot more epic things.
Well, that's good. Sometimes, it's nice to get a basic idea. It's like, oh, okay, this is interesting. What else shows up that I don't know about just from this description? Because
Mhm.
you don't want to reveal too much beforehand, then
Yeah.
nobody would have any reason to play the game.
Yeah, exactly. That's what's kind of hard about this is that when you're pitching to like a publisher, you can give away spoilers because they're not really the customer, right? But then you kind of have to treat a Kickstarter like you're pitching to publishers, but at the same time you're also pitching to customers. So it's like, where do you find that happy medium of information you're giving out compared to still leaving them with enough surprise? So I was trying to kind of hit that with the description I left on the page. I also really want to be able to, depending on how much budgeting the game is actually able to get out from the Kickstarter, I would like to do something similar to how Suikoden 3 did their like their tri-split story thing. I forgot what they call it, like the Trivision or something like that, where basically there would be two or three different storylines that are going on, and Mythos is kind of like the uh, I guess light-hearted side of the story. There's another one where it's a mercenary who's actually after Max, one of the mercenaries after Max, and that one gets a bit more dark and a little more scary. Um, and then there's also one more on the political end, which follows this empowered, kind of cold woman who's trying to increase her power in the political world and is dealing with all of the politics with the guild council and stuff.
And that's always really good. I feel like I haven't really played a game like that in a long time. The last thing that I can think of like that is, I would say almost like a Sonic the Hedgehog game where they go into both sides of the story and you can see both ends, not just follow one protagonist and see, oh, this is what he did, and that's how his story went, but
Mm-hmm.
you don't figure out anything, the motivations behind the villains, where they were when he wasn't around them, and
Mm-hmm.
anything like that sort of thing.
I lost track of Sonic the Hedgehog back in like the Sega Genesis days, but all right. So what happens in the modern Sonic the Hedgehog? Do they like you follow Sonic and then you go over to I can't remember what the other guy's name is, the red guy with
Yeah, it's like you'll have Sonic's story, and then once you've played through his thing and see everything that he does, you can play as Knuckles
Knuckles. Yeah, that's his name.
or even as Dr. Eggman in some of them. It's just interesting to see, you know, what motivated them and why they did what they did and what they were doing in the meantime. And it's always interesting to see stuff like that. It's like if you played Persona 4 from the villain's perspective after you'd beaten the first game.
Right. Yeah. I've seen a couple games kind of do that. It's pretty neat. I think Suikoden 3 allows you to do that actually, which is really awesome. Like after you play through the whole game, you can go through it and play as like the bad guy in the end. It's a really neat concept. I like that.
I always hear so much good stuff about this weekend in games, but I've never actually had the chance to play them.
There's a lot of reading.
I hear
If you
there's
like reading.
I hear there's a lot of reading and there's also a lot of characters that not
Oh yeah.
all of them are necessary, but if you want to say that you've truly beaten the game, you have to collect all like 102 characters. And it's like, yeah,
Yeah. I think it's actually is it 102 or is it 108?
it's something. I think it might
Yeah.
be 108 because that
Yeah.
sounds more round.
Or around. Yeah, it's supposedly based off of a Chinese mythology that I'm not familiar with at all. But it's a really cool game. The fact that it's on obviously a much grander scope than Soul Saga. With 60 grand, I'm not going to be able to put in 108 playable characters,
Right.
especially in 3D. But yeah, it was really the Suikoden series is really awesome because of how much depth it has to it. Each of the characters has their own, at least tiny, like story that interweaves with the world in general. And I don't think there's any other game in the world that allows you to have 108 playable characters that actually have unique art and their own
Unique
unique
art
stories
and
behind them.
their own story that at some point you get to learn more about all 108 characters.
Hmm. Yep. Yep. Pretty sweet.
And it's definitely I feel like too many games now are just focusing on the silent protagonist and that's okay
Mm.
and that's
Suk
nice, but
Suikoden actually has a silent protagonist as well.
oh,
Yeah. I think in all of them, actually, now that I think about it. Oh, wait, maybe not the newest ones, but I think one through two. One through, oh, yeah, actually, just one and two had silent protagonists. Now that I think about three and beyond, I think lost the silent protagonist.
well that's always fun and but it's just the sort of thing where you get to see a few shades of everyone's character and it helps you feel more involved with the ones that you choose to focus more on, or you can completely ignore them if you want.
Yeah, but you shouldn't ignore them because they're all awesome.
Well, yeah. One of the games that I put probably an unhealthy amount of time on is the new Fire Emblem Awakening, and you can focus on support conversations, see how each character interacts with other characters, and you don't have to focus on just one or just a group of say like a close 10 or something. You can take the time to focus on some of them or all of them, however many you want. And it's definitely more engaging that way because I've put in I think over 200 hours into this game.
Wow, holy cow.
It's a little crazy, but you know
Hmm.
stuff like that. It just goes to show that you know if you have a good formula, people will continue to play the game even after they've already beaten it twice.
Yeah, that's interesting. I'll have to check into that. I'll have to ask you about that afterwards and get some information because I'd like to see that. Sounds very interesting.
Definitely. But in terms of your Soul Saga project, where can people go to support this like I just did?
Well, thank you. And they can go to the Kickstarter page, kickstarter.com, and type in Soul Saga into the search bar, or they can go to disastercake.com. And I believe my newest blog post has a direct link somewhere in there.
Yep,
Um,
it's right here. I'm looking at it right now.
Actually, after we get done with this, I actually should go through and make sure that the icon actually links to it too, because right now it does not. But I'll do that later.
Yeah, it looks like the icon just redirects right back to the site.
Yep.
But
Uh,
for people who are curious about the Kickstarters, if you don't mind, I will go through the tiers and people can
sure.
find out what they'll be getting here.
Sure.
The one that I have done is just the basic 15 euros. Obviously, you can pledge anything less than 15 as long as it's more than one, but for $15 you get a free digital copy for PC, Linux, or Mac. And it says here that you're estimating it'll retail at 20 once it comes out, so you can save a little bit.
Hmm.
And that's one of the best things about backing a game that you think you will absolutely want to play, because if you pledge for it on Kickstarter, you can pay less for it, and you'll feel better
Yeah,
about yourself.
yeah. Well, everyone backing the project deserves that. And also all of the everything you're about to list off is all limited edition swag, and no one other than the Kickstarters are going to be able to get that stuff. So
Unless
it's
they're losers and try to auction them off on eBay, but who would want to do something like that?
that's yeah, haven't seen that all the time.
But for $20 or more, you get the DRM cut. Obviously, with Kickstarter, we don't need to say all the time that yes, you get everything before that. Just assume that you get everything that we've already said. So you get
Well, actually, some of the tiers, so that I could give a little bit of variety, a few of the tiers do purposely don't say "and all the above."
right,
Like, say the figurine that's down at the $150 pledge. It just comes with the digital stuff because a figurine costs quite a bit to develop. But I didn't want to overcharge, a whole
right,
bunch
right.
if people just wanted the figurine. So,
But
but
obviously, you will still get all the digital stuff because that's really
yep,
easy to mass produce and give out to people.
yep, exactly.
So for $20, you will get the game as well as some high-res wallpapers. I'm a big fan of wallpapers for my desktop. Um, I might choose to upgrade to that tier before the Kickstarter ends. I will have to see what my paycheck provides. For $30 or more, you get the game, the wallpaper, and the private beta, which lets you uh, put input onto what you like about the game and what you don't like. It's uh, sort of an active feedback type thing. If you really want to, I guess, let you know what fans think of the game, then that would be the way to go.
Right. This will be a really important time if people want to get in on that because I really, really care about the input I get on the game, especially when people actually have their hands on the beta version of it and on the early access version of it. That way, I can make sure that it's a game that we all love. Because I'm not just making this for me anymore. When it was just me and my own budget, the game was for me. But now it's for everyone. So.
Definitely, and I feel like beta periods can be sort of a make or break time for certain games. I mean, if you look at
Hmm.
the initial beta period that Final Fantasy XIV had, where they realized this game is horrible, we need to completely overhaul this and make it not horrible.
Hmm.
And now they've got the new beta, and then I think the final beta comes out in a couple months or something.
Interesting. The single player one has a public beta
Uh,
or private beta.
the no, the new online one, 14.
Oh, okay. I'm losing track of their numbers now. Yeah. After
Yeah,
after 10, after 10, I think it starts to not turn into Final Fantasy anymore. But
yeah.
maybe
Well,
it's just my opinion.
what can you do? For $35, you get the digital copy, the high res graphics for your wallpaper, and a digital copy of the soundtrack. Because if a game doesn't have music, then what is it really? It's just a bunch of words. For
Yeah. For the soundtrack, Ivy Tran is doing the soundtrack, and I have to say she's absolutely has like the most beautiful music. Some of it's very fresh, but it has a very nostalgic feel to it. I've not seen anything else from an indie producer yet that really hits that mark, and I think it's like a perfect fit for Soul Saga. She'll actually be uh, developing a song or two during the Kickstarter campaign that I can show people. But she's very busy because she's very popular, and so it took up me a while to schedule some time with her.
Yeah, and for anybody who wants a quick sample of that, you can scroll down the Kickstarter page to the music section and listen to the theme song for episode 1 here.
And actually, the theme song was actually not made by Ivy Tran. The theme song was actually made by Terry Chandler, which is another talented composer who's out of Japan.
Aha.
But Terry won't be doing anything other than the theme song. Is I just wanted a really authentic Japanese theme song for my
For the
for the
JRPG
game.
inspired game, definitely.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
I'm learning all sorts of things about this game today.
There's a lot of
Uh,
information on there, so I
exactly.
I think it goes over a lot of heads. But
Yeah. For $50 or more, let's see here. You get the digital copy, the wallpaper, the soundtrack, the PDF copy of the instruction booklet, and the private beta.
yeah, the instruction booklet, I've gotten some questions about that because they're like, don't you like need that to play the game? But I make sure that in the game that the controls are easy enough that you can figure out on your own, and if for some reason you don't really know how to, that you're not natural to the PC setup, you there are in-game tutorials and stuff. The instruction booklet is supposed to kind of harken more towards like the old the old days when we got like cool booklets with like art and stuff in it and little like snippets of like the characters and stuff in it. So it's supposed to be more of like a limited edition swag type of thing.
No, definitely. As somebody who would actually open a game case, pop out the instruction booklet, and actually read it before actually starting to play a game, I understand how important that is to some people, and there are still people that don't like digital games because you don't get that feel. You can't harken back to, you know, visual representations. Like playing Pokemon Blue for the first game, I would look at the game as like, okay, these are the gym leaders that I'm going to have to face, and I can prepare accordingly for that kind of thing. It's stuff like that that you don't really get the chance to see anymore.
Yeah. And there's what I really liked about those instruction manuals was kind of less about like the reading content and more about the cool concept artwork that would be kind of be scattered around it that you'd never see by turning on the game.
Yeah, and it's yeah, if you don't go looking for that kind of thing, that's really the only place you can see the original artist's ideas
Hmm.
for that kind of stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
For $65 or more, you get uh, the tier that I just mentioned. So, the game, the wallpaper, the soundtrack, the book, the beta, and Soul Saga themed playing cards.
Yep. Uh, yeah, I like the idea of the playing cards. I'm definitely going to be making all of my poker buddies use them. So,
It's definitely one of those things where, if you're not busy playing Soul Saga, you want to, you know get some buddies for a night of poker. You can say, oh, what's on these cards? Oh, well, it's just this great new game that I backed on Kickstarter. It's
yeah.
only the best thing that you should also get.
Yeah. There you go. I guess that works too. Works as like a secondary, as like an advertising campaign.
Definitely. For $70 or more, you get the I Heart Soul Saga pack, which again is the game wallpaper soundtrack booklet beta. But this one also comes with an armory case.
Yep. And yeah, those are the cases that kind of like the old PlayStation 2 games came in, and most of like actually modern games mostly come in those nowadays too.
Aha.
And so I plan on printing off an instruction booklet for it. I didn't promise it because I got a quote and it sounded good, but I got to make sure that it's actually of a good printable quality.
Of
Uh,
course.
but if I can get that, I'm gonna plug it in there. Free of charge for everyone who's bought this, and also going to design the cover art and stuff for it, so it will have like full cover art around it.
And
So
even if you can't, get the booklet in there, it's obviously understandable because you're still getting the PDF version that, if you really wanted to, you could go and try to print out yourself if you could find it
yeah,
a reasonable
exactly.
way to do it.
Yep.
And it actually looks like you've already got 12 backers for that. Wow.
Yeah, they really like the concept of a physical game in their hands.
Yeah, I'm pretty much the same way. Like for Fire Emblem Awakening, I had heard about all of the pre-order issues and how places like GameStop didn't have enough copies to fulfill pre-orders. I'm like, it's day one download. I'll just download it from the eShop. It's fine by me. But now I'm like, I really wish I had a physical case for this thing. I might have to go out and buy the game again just to have that physical version, just because it's one of the things that I like to have in my hand.
Nice. Yeah, I really like to kind of put all my games up on a shelf.
Yeah,
So it's I like to go through and kind of like look at the case, and it's very inspiring to like to see all of like the old games and look at like their cover art and their descriptions and stuff like that, and just so I can be reminded of like what they're like. So I really like physical cases for games.
definitely. And now for $75 or more, you get the entire digital stuff, including the beta, but instead of cards or a case, you get a Disaster Cake t-shirt.
Yeah. I have gotten some feedback that people would prefer that it be more like Soul Saga themed. Um, I will probably make that adjustment soon because I'm getting a lot of feedback like that. I thought Disaster and Cake were so freaking cute. I thought they'd be awesome on a t-shirt, but I think people are here for Soul Saga, not for like Disaster Cake. So I'll have to make that adjustment and throw the Soul Saga logo onto a t-shirt for people.
That makes sense. I can definitely understand that kind of thing. I mean, there's there's always, supporting your the company or developer that makes it. Is like you have a Bungie shirt or a 343 shirt, but at the end of the
Mhm.
day, you've got it for Halo.
Yeah, good point.
And then for $80 or more, you get the entire digital stuff, including the beta, and you get a digital version of the art book.
Hmm. Yep, and the art book isn't just an art book. It's kind of like a little bit kind of like a design diary where I kind of talk about different character concepts and stuff that we went over, why we made the decisions that we made, and I might even talk about the game design a little bit inside of it.
And then also for $80, if you don't want a digital version, you can also pick up a limited edition soft cover. Uh,
Softcore. Nope, not that.
nope, I don't think that's the kind of thing we're advertising here. But it looks like you've got 5 people going for the soft cover physical art book, and they would rather have that over the digital version. So that's
Yeah,
definitely very cool.
I actually got some feedback that people did want the digital art book, but they've actually a lot of them have tacked it on themselves. I've allowed people to do add-ons where you can say get the $15 tier, and then if you want like the art book, then you can tack on $30 yourself, and then send me a message,
Hmm.
and then I'll I write it up in my Google Excel sheet or Google Excel sheet, my Google spreadsheet, and I'm going to keep track of all that stuff. So it's because I can't make. I wish Kickstarter, instead of doing tiers, I wish they would do kind of like a shopping cart type of thing.
Like an
So
add-on option. It's like I want this,
yeah,
this, and this, but not that.
right, exactly. I feel like people should have more power over that, and they can still pledge it like as much as they want, but and get everything they want, and then kind of skip the stuff they don't want. But we work with what we got.
Yeah, and you get you. It's definitely one of those things where you can sort of mess around with the system and see what works and what doesn't. And
Mm,
I think for 99% of people, the Kickstarter system does what they need it to do, so that they don't have to go through all
mm.
those hoops and additional stuff like that.
Yep, it works.
It
So,
it obviously it does if so many things are being funded through it.
mhm.
And then for $115 or more, which already has 18 backers on it, you get the full digital pack, including the beta, the softcover art book, the playing cards, the physical copy of the game, and a physical copy of the soundtrack.
Yep. Uh, basically, almost all of the
Almost
physical swag,
almost everything except for
the figurine.
the figurine, which is the $150, which has somebody going for it. You get the digital pack, which also obviously still includes the beta, along with a figurine of Elise, 12 centimeters tall, which I want to say that's like 4.5 inches, give or take.
Um,
It's a little more than 4 inches, I think.
yeah, yeah. It's actually um 12 centimeters, actually pretty close to 5 inches.
Okay. I just know because I get a lot of Nendoroid figures, and they say, oh, 10 centimeters, and that's 4 inches. And I have no choice but to believe them because I'm not going to go and pull out a ruler.
I actually had a ruler sitting in front of me. That's how I knew.
Ha! And it looks like somebody is going for that figure. If you do choose this option, you'll be sent a survey to clarify if you want it pre-painted or if you want to do the whole paint-it-yourself model kit.
Yep, it can come without the paint job, the factory done paint job on it. If you kind of want to do your own paint job, or you have like a friend who you'd like to do the paint job for you.
Definitely. And now for 250 or more, which has 5 people going for it, it is the Soul Collector pack, which is the $115 one. So you get all the digital stuff, the physical art book, the physical game and soundtrack, the playing cards, and the figure. So that's for 250.
Yep, you get all the swag possible.
All the swag. And 5 people are already going for that. That's crazy.
Yeah, very very generous. It's kind of it's an amazing feeling to know that there's people who feel this strongly about Soul Saga and really want it to get done this badly. It's very motivating.
Yeah, and then after that, you sort of get into you start to design part of the game yourself. So for
Mm.
350 more, you get the Lord of the Otaku pack, which is the one I just mentioned, which has all the physical stuff, and then you get to have a unique in-game item and write its flavor text.
Yep. So basically, it's just I get to design you can tell me whether you want it to be kind of a bit more of like a common item or if you want it to be like kind of a super secret item. But right now, I've been working with a couple people on it, and they want the it to be kind of like a super secret item, and so basically, I'll kind of like hide it in the world somewhere. Yeah,
Yeah,
but
one of those things that you got to work for.
yeah.
Obviously, they're not gonna throw it at everybody for somebody that paid 350 to design this kind of thing.
Right. And I'm going to only tell the person who designed it how to get the item. And so it's up to everyone else to kind of find it out, or if the person who created the item wants to tell people, it's up to them. But I won't tell anyone else.
And that is limited to only 10 people. So if you want to jump on that, I would definitely say go for it. And then I would imagine that if, all 10 people get it, only the person who designed their item gets to know about their item. There's no
Right. Exactly.
cross-examination.
Nope.
That's very cool. I don't think I've ever seen anything on a Kickstarter done quite like that. It's I like it.
Yeah. I mean, I've seen lots of stuff where it's like, hey, get your name plastered somewhere in the game on a wall or something like that. But I've never seen like, kind of design
This
your own
is your
item.
item. You did
Yeah.
this.
You get it and no one else gets it unless they find it. I'm not saying people won't be able to find it, but I'm going to hide it pretty well. So,
Exactly. And then for $500 or more, this is limited to 3 people only. So you get the whole digital pack. You get to create an item with your own flavor text, and then you also get to design the outfit, name, and personality of an NPC in the game.
hmm
And obviously there are, the constrictions. You can't name him, you know, Pokemon rival level stuff.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Please don't name him Pikachu. Yeah,
Yeah, it's like, it's a Pikachu. No, we're gonna keep this to, you know, in-game related stuff.
yeah.
So
It's very. I like to call it lore friendly.
exactly.
So it's cool to be a little, like a little bit out there. But I'm not gonna be like, uh, hold a tight leash around it. I want people to be able to put their personality into the character and their little quirks into it, so they know it's theirs. But it definitely can't be like
You,
too obviously
you can't go
weird.
too crazy. It's just like, thanks, Obama. No, I don't think we're going to be doing that kind of thing.
Yep.
But just to clarify, that doesn't come with any of the physical stuff. That is just the digital stuff, the item,
Yep.
and the NPC.
Yep, that's because of the cost that goes into kind of because the character is it's not just designing their personality. You also get to kind of take the outfits that are already in the game and kind of mix and match your own outfit, kind of mess them, play with them like a doll. And then I'll also go through and I'll retexture them, which means that I'll change, like, say, the color of their outfit, or maybe add a little bit of extra design on it, or something like what you want. And so all the costs for doing that, and also getting a voice actor for your character, is it gets a little pricey. So that's why I couldn't offer all the physical stuff here as well.
Just think, you too could be voiced by Todd Habercorn. Maybe.
Maybe.
Don't want to go promising anything, but it's certainly a possibility if you wanted to do that kind of thing.
hmm
And then for $700 or more, which is limited to two, somebody has already snatched one of those up. So if you're looking for it, I would hurry up. You get the Item Master set, which is all of the physical stuff. You get your own in-game item, as well as the NPC. So basically everything that we've mentioned so far.
Yeah, you get every like the NPC we just mentioned plus the swag, basically all of the swag and everything. It's like all of the above for, at this point.
All of the above. So for the extra 200, you get the physical stuff instead of just the digital stuff and then making an item in NPC.
Hmm.
And then we start to get into the bigger stuff. It is 1,750. You get the digital pack, the item, the NPC, uh, and then oh no, it's a brand new NPC.
Yeah, at this point, I will actually remodel a whole character for you, so you can like take pictures from the internet or like pictures of clothing or some outfit that you have maybe, and I can make an NPC out of it. Or if you don't want like a human NPC, like I put in there, like I can put an animal in there or something like that, or you can put your grandma in the game. I think I put in there, but basically it's an NPC. It's in the game. It's yours to play with. It doesn't even have to be human. It just has to be lore friendly. You know, I don't want to put any blood elves into the game.
Right, right.
So, but yeah. So they get to design it from scratch.
Very cool. And that is limited to five. So if you want to create your own NPC, definitely hop on that. Next for a big 3,000. Somebody has already backed this. Who is this crazy person? Wow.
Crazy awesome person.
Crazy awesome. I know. This is combat designer. So you get the whole digital stuff, which is the game, the wallpaper, the digital soundtrack, and the open beta. And then you design an enemy from scratch, including its appearance, animation style, combat skills, sound effects, and anything else. And you will be placed in the credits as assistant combat designer.
Yep. The enemies cost quite a bit more to make because there's a lot more that goes into developing them. Like they're actually in the combat and they're actually they're
Right. It's not just a static model standing around town.
right, exactly. The NPCs will have their own little quirks. Like if someone wants to like maybe if they want them to kind of have a certain quirkiness to their animations, I'll alter the animations to do
Yeah.
that. That's not too expensive, but with these guys, it's like you have to you know it's literally designing them from the ground up. Like you get like so you pick up some example images that you want, you pass them my way, and we kind of go over it, and we decide kind of like exactly what you want going for you. Or if you're an artist, you can like draw it, and that works too. And the, also you can also uh, you can also decide whether you want this to be kind of more of a common enemy or more of like a boss, like possibly like a secret boss or something like that. Kind of like we were doing like with the item. This person in particular is actually making more of a secret boss.
Ooh.
So yeah. And so yeah, and then we kind of go over sound effects, like what types of things you want your character. It doesn't even have to be a monster. It can be a person. It could be like a mercenary or something like that. Like it's completely up to you, like what you want this character to be. So and since we're dealing with in the realm of like monsters and stuff here, basically your creativity roams free at this point, as long
Exactly.
as yeah. So
And what's a JRPG without a secret boss? I mean, seriously, this guy's basically doing half your work for you.
yeah. Well, there will be hopefully several of those depending on how well the game gets funded. So,
Exactly. There are two more slots for that left, so if you would also like to have an additional secret boss, or you just want to have like a random mook, go for it. And
yep.
then we've got two more tiers left. Next is the 5,000 or more, limited to three. You get the item master pack, so all the digital stuff, all the physical stuff, and you also get to create a lore-friendly side story, including design the characters that show up in it, using artwork that already exists, and the map, the gameplay, the goals, anything. I would imagine like a reward that comes from the end of it as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Like it's basically like I would say maybe something that could possibly be an extra like hour to two of like gameplay for the character at least. So it's and I'm also imagining this being one of those things where it's one of those kind of like secret levels where like people kind of come across it and can it's basically one of those secret private things. It's completely up to the player how they want to deal with that at that point, but I don't know. I just like secrets. I like finding secrets in games. I like all like the Easter egg stuff and putting stuff in there. I definitely plan on plugging in disaster and cake into the game as a secret Easter egg. So
Of course, and the one thing that's coming to mind for me is Golden Sun Lost Ages secret boss side quest where you have to sort of go through and collect all of the elemental Jin, and then you can go and fight this boss. So
yeah,
I'm basically I'm thinking something similar to that. You trigger this story event and you go and do all the things related to that, and it's something akin to that.
yeah, exactly. It's a you just design like the whole short like quest line, basically like the goals, the story, why it's there, and stuff like that. So it you're basically working on the game at that point.
Definitely. And then the big one, the $10,000 or more, limited to one, you become an associate producer. This gives you a direct line to you via Skype or Google Chat, kind of like what we're doing now, except that I don't have $10,000. Uh, uh,
You also won't get nearly as much information as this person would be getting
That's
about
true.
the.
And they get to learn all about the entire creative process. You get to see all the changes. You're asked for your creative input, things you like, things you think might not work. Obviously, with something this big and you're spending this much money, you have to be 18 or older because you do have to sign a non disclosure agreement so that you don't go chatting to all your friends like, hey, I'm making this game. Check it out.
Yeah, like, hey, you know what happens to Mythos? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, please don't. But yeah, that's why I've seen a lot of $10,000 tiers, and they were always like, "Come have a party with us," and I was like, "That's the most
That's,
like un
that's
$10,000 thing I've ever heard."
That's the best you can come up with. But
Yeah, and
in addition to being, a creative associate producer, you also get all the digital stuff, all the physical stuff, your item, your enemy, be it minion or boss, and side quest. So you get all that kind of stuff as well as creative input into that.
yep, exactly. So you get to create the level, like we had already discussed. You get to create the character, and yeah. So you basically get the whole shebang, and it at this point you would basically have a backdoor pass into an indie game studio. Is kind of at this concept is what I was going for,
Pretty
where
much. Also, for $10,000, you're pretty much guaranteeing that Soul Saga gets funded.
yeah, that as well.
So if this is a thing that you really want to do and you've been wondering what to do with that random $10,000 that you've got just lying around, this doesn't sound like that bad of an idea, especially if you're one of those people that are like, I'd really like to make a video game. And
Yep.
it's
Yeah, yeah,
it's
that's a great way to put it. Is that you're helping make a video game and not just like by the other one. It's really cool to get to like create a character and stuff, but this one, it's like you're actually a lot more of the process.
and
So,
it's funny because, when I got to like my senior year of high school and you do the whole it's like, oh, what are your like dreams and aspirations for the future? It was around that time and the years prior to that that I had really started playing video games and actually watching credit sequences to see who did what and who was a part of what. And people have like it's like, oh, I want to be like rich and successful. And it's like, all I really need is to see my name in a line of credits. And with indie games like this and Kickstarter projects like this, it gives people with that sort of mentality to have that come true.
yeah. Yep, it's very motivating to know that there's things like Kickstarter out there that can really help make these projects happen. That we can kind of bypass the need for producers who wouldn't listen to me in the first place, and we don't have to necessarily have the AAA credit to get $100,000 loan from the bank to launch our game, right? So
Definitely. And then additionally, there's also the other stuff like Dust. Dust is full of a lot of up and coming solo voice talents, and
mm,
now you've got people who were in that, like Lucian Dodge, who they're also making, breakouts into the scene. So if you wanted to do something like that, I'm not saying that Soul Saga would be the place for that, but there are definitely other projects where you can get going on that too. So
Yep.
Kickstarter is definitely a way to essentially make your dreams come true.
Yeah. Well, I really one thing I'm kind of big on is I like to work with a lot of talented underdogs. So I if you are an artist or you are like a voice actor, like please email me and we can talk about it and see what we can do and see if we can get you in somewhere.
That sounds
So.
like a great segue into wrapping up here. How can people stay up to date and keep in contact with you and the rest of the Soul Saga project?
Well, you can email me directly at mike@disastercake.com, or you can go to disastercake.com and you can subscribe to the Facebook or Twitter or Google Plus, and keep up to date on the project. So that would be great.
And it looks like you've also got a link to your YouTube there for all of the behind the scenes stuff that you're doing for anything that you want to put out there for people who are keeping even more up to date than just, visual and text type stuff.
Yep. I will start updating that as soon as I get a little bit more. After the Kickstarter, I'll start uploading some stuff. I'm actually hoping that I can. I've been really busy trying to keep up with the Kickstarter. I thought I would have more time to work on some development so I could get a decent like a video gameplay video out. But I'm hoping that next week I'll have a bit more time to put aside so that I can get that ready for people. But yeah, I'll start blowing up the YouTube channel as soon as I can with videos and works in progress and stuff like that for people to keep in touch with.
Well, definitely. In the meantime, I will drop a link to the Kickstarter project in our live IRC chat as well as our Twitter. So if anybody wants to take a look at that, they can become a backer. Like I said, I have dropped the 15.
Thank you.
I'm considering upgrading to the 20. I will. There's 25 days left, so there's plenty of time. It looks like you've already gotten over a third of the way there. So this is a thing that I can see getting done.
Yeah, well, thank you. I really hope so. I hear that if you're around the 30 to 50% range in the first week, you're usually pretty safe. So far we're in the green.
Definitely. Uh, and I will say back a cool new game on Kickstarter.
Yeah. And I'd
Uh,
just like to ask everyone if they are interested in the project or if they know someone who's interested, please actually forward this to them or on any forums that you go to, because the only way these types of projects can actually get funded is if everyone talks a lot about it to everyone very publicly.
I've got
Social.
I've got Kerber for up to the second retweeting me. Jesus Christ, Kerb. So that's yeah, definitely let your friends know if you've got people that are a part of like the Voice 101 forums. You've got friends there and they haven't heard of this project yet. Definitely send them over to Mike. Again, it's mike@disastercake.com. And I would imagine they can also get a hold of you via the Facebook and Twitter sort of thing, and then you can
Yep.
go from there. It's up to them.
Yeah, it's up to you. I really like public comments. It helps keep me motivated to know that everyone is keeping their eyes on it. So, oh, and also another big thing I would like to request from people is please upvote on Steam Greenlight, because if Soul Saga can get on
Oh,
Steam,
you're on
or
Greenlight.
yep, I am. It's actually near the top of the Kickstarter page,
Okay.
right underneath the Soul Saga logo, and before gameplay, the big logo that says Steam Greenlight. And please upvote it, because it takes a lot of votes to get on there. And if Soul Saga can get on there, I am in the middle of negotiations right now, but I'm hoping that I can get all the backers a Steam key. But even if we don't get on there, I am going to be going. I've already gotten a few quotes from some DRM-free distributors,
Hmm.
and I'm definitely going to be going with some a DRM-free distributor, and I'm going to get. Definitely will have codes for that, so that people don't have to just download the game once and never have it. You actually can have it for life with that distributor. So.
Definitely, and you see that sort of thing a lot with the humble indie bundles, where uh,
Mhm.
you do get Steam keys, but you can also download them yourself forever and have them DRM free.
Yep, that's one of the guys I'm talking to right now. So
Very cool. I think another thing, another place that does that is Good Old Games. I saw they were having a sale on like all of the old D&D stuff, like Baldur's Gate, and I'm like, yeah, I'll do that. And I have all of those DRM free on my computer. So
nice. Baldur's Gate's quite the classic.
yeah, I never got a chance to get into it, but now I can do it whenever I want because I own it.
I liked it, but it something about it just always destroyed. I just couldn't function well in it because it functions completely differently from a Japanese RPG, and I was so used
Yeah,
to it, in love with Japanese RPGs. But I would always pick it up and maybe play for about like 10 hours, and then like get stuck somewhere and like keep dying because the D&D rules were a little complicated for me to kind of follow. But it was still a pretty neat concept and huge game.
definitely. But before we let you go off air here, I was wondering if you'd like to participate in our 91.8 The Fan tradition.
I'll say yes, but I don't know what it is.
He's going in blind, folks. It's real simple. We just ask you to do a quick radio bump for us.
A radio bump.
A radio bump. And we just ask you to say basically a line for our listeners. And if you want, I can type it out to you as well.
Okay, you can type it out to me.
All right. We just ask you to say, hello, my name is, you insert your name. I do this. You can say that you're an indie game developer, whatever you want to put there. You know, you're working on Soul Saga on
Mm.
Kickstarter, and you're tuned into 91.8 The Fan, and I will do the you're tuned into bit into Skype here, since that's what most people have the issue with. Into 91.8. Apparently, I'm having issue typing it. The Fan. So, hello, I'm Mike. I'm running Soul Saga on Kickstarter, however you want to
Okay.
say it, and you're tuned into 91.8 The Fan. The only trick is we do the takes live on air, so when you're ready, we can go for a take one.
Okay. Okay. Take one. Hello, my name is Mike Gale, and I'm an indie game developer working on a JRPG called Soul Saga that's up on Kickstarter right now. And you're turned it, and you're tuned into 91.8 The Fan.
There you go. A little stumble, but all in all, you've done better than people who flip the numbers.
You want a second take?
No, it's fine. We can take care of it in post. You did fine, especially for somebody who's not a voice actor.
Thank you. Yeah, this is actually my first interview, especially live. So this went very well. Thank you. It's been a pleasure being on here.
Well, hopefully Soul Saga does well enough that you'll do many more. For anybody who missed any of this slightly longer than expected interview, but I had a lot of fun. I've never actually really gone over, the whole tier list of a Kickstarter, so it's interesting to see what exactly you get for backing a project. So, thanks for the chance.
Yeah. Well, thank you for letting me be on your show.
No
And
problem. And for any of the listeners who missed any of this interview, don't fret. It'll be up on the website in the next couple days, so keep it tuned to 91.8 The Fan. Everything you want and nothing you don't.